Hi everyone, we're looking at the topic of cross-price elasticity of demand today. If you guys have a look at the Wordle, you'll see a number of terms that you are already familiar with. Okay, key learning objectives, things we must be able to do. Obviously understand the meaning of the term cross-elasticity of demand. Note, by the way, the shorthand, the abbreviation for cross-elasticity, we use an X, cross-elasticity of demand. You've obviously got to be able to calculate the term and then look at the applications of the concept for business, in particular substitutes and complementary goods. Okay, if you guys could make sure that you highlight. I am just going to get myself a highlighter myself and choose a colour, and in terms of this, make sure that you highlight in your notes cross-elasticity of demand. And very importantly, what we're talking about here now, we're talking about the responsiveness of demand for one good following a change in the price of another. Okay, so how much does demand for good X change when there's a change in the price of good Y? Okay, again, in terms of quantitative skills, very important. We've got to be able to calculate this very important equation. Make sure that you learn that. And so percentage change in quantity demanded of good X over the percentage change in price of good Y. Make sure you get them the right way round, or the alternative way to calculate that. In terms of cross-elasticity of demand, the first thing we are going to look at is substitute products and cross-elasticity. And so in terms of substitutes, if there's an increase in the price of substitute goods such as a washing powder, an increase in the price of one should lead to an increase in demand for a rival product. Okay, so the cross-elasticity of demand for substitute products is going to be positive. Okay, so an example of this you've got in your notes. Okay, if Daz washing powder increases price by 10%, so Daz becomes 10% more expensive, consumers are going to switch towards another brand such as Ariel by 5%. So what's the cross-elasticity of demand? Okay, put in your equation. So the change in price goes on the bottom, the percentage change in price. Daz increased by 10% and it's led to a 5% increase in demand for Ariel. 5 over 10 gives us 0.5. As I said, a cross-elasticity of demand for substitute products is positive. Very importantly, how do we interpret such figures? Okay, so 0.5. So a 1% rise in the price of Daz leads to a 0.5% increase in the demand for Ariel. And as mentioned, as the figure is a positive, we can say that they are substitute goods. Complements and cross-elasticity of demand. Okay, probably need to think of my examples here. So obviously I had this one for a little while, but a fall in the price of DVD players will lead to an increase in demand for complementary goods such as DVDs. Okay, obviously complements goods that go together. And the cross-elasticity of demand for complements, because in a fall in the price of one, a negative number leads to an increase in the price, in the demand, of DVDs. One divided by the other, a positive divided by a negative, is going to give a negative number for cross-elasticity for complements. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. You've got this in your notes, so again, fill in the figures. If the average price of cinema admission increases by 10%, and consequently the demand for popcorn decreases by 5%, what is the cross-elasticity of demand? Okay, so fill the figures in, and I'll come back, or you can come back to me in a minute with the answer. Okay, you should have got the following. So price of cinema tickets went up by 10%, and that led to a 5% fall in demand for popcorn. Minus 5 divided by 10 is minus 0.5. Take a moment and make sure that you write down how you would interpret your cross elasticity of demand figure of minus 0.5. So I'll just press pause and you guys can write that in. Okay, how did you do? A 1% rise in the price of cinema tickets leads to a 0.5% decrease in the demand for popcorn. And because the figures are negative, we can say they are complementary goods. Oops, oh, there it is again. Okay, how can businesses make use of the concept of cross-elasticity of demand? First of all, this is important when firms are considering price strategies for substitutes. So if competitors increase or cut prices of a rival product, a firm should be able to predict the impact on its own good in terms of quantity demanded, but also total revenue as well. Okay, so a substitute good, perhaps that idea of Daz and Ariel, if one cuts their prices, the other one should be able to work out what will happen to demand, and as a result, what will happen to total revenue. Secondly, pricing strategies for complementary goods. If firms are aware or have a good estimate of cross-elasticity of demand, they should be able to estimate the effect of an offer on demand for their products. Okay, so if they have an offer, they should be able to work that out. And this is where we see meal deals, and you see these in the supermarkets, you see these in garages, and as a result of that, you go for the meal deal, and because there's a fall in the price of one, you should be able to gauge what happens to demand. Okay, so that's a nice real world application. In terms of advertising and marketing, obviously any large marketing expenditure on big brands in particular is going to build that brand loyalty, and it's going to make demand more inelastic, so less sensitive when another rival perhaps reduces their price. Fourthly, in terms of unrelated goods, and you do have this 2/3 of the way down page 65, underneath the paragraph just above the two diagrams, and in terms of this, please make sure that you emphasize unrelated goods. Okay, so a car and a box of matches, they will have a zero cross elasticity of demand. Okay, the relationship between two substitutes, have a little look at this. Okay, so we've got price of good A, price of good B, apologies, on the left hand or the vertical axis, and then we've got a demand curve for good A that we can see. Now if there's a rise in the price of good B, okay, so good B becomes more expensive, okay, what are we going to see in terms of demand for good A? Demand should rise. Okay, so if good B becomes more expensive and they're substitutes, okay, there will be an increase in demand for good A. Okay, very importantly, with two close substitutes, the cross elasticity of demand, we know substitutes will be positive, but if they're close substitutes, it will be strongly positive and greater than 1. Okay, that's a key point. Please emphasize that. And just have a look at what you can see now. We've got weak substitutes, tea and coffee. Okay, people who like tea don't necessarily want to switch to coffee, and vice versa. Okay, so a rise in the price of tea in this instance, that's gone up 30 pence in this example, which is 25% of the original price. Okay, a rise of 30% has led to an increase of 10 over 200 of coffee, so that's a 5% increase in demand. So the cross elasticity of demand in this instance, if you worked it out, would be equal to 0.2. In terms of close substitutes, so two coffees this time, Costa and Starbucks, an increase in the price of Costa coffee, say from £2.40 to £2.70, is going to lead to a much greater change in terms of demand for Starbucks. Okay, so closer substitutes, the important bit with close substitutes, cross elasticity of demand will be strongly positive and greater than 1. Okay, in terms of complementary goods, this time we've got price of good Y. on the vertical axis and demand for good X, as we can see. And what we should see is when there's, so think of complementary goods. So this is our DVD player and DVDs. When there's an increase in the price of DVDs, or DVD players, I should say, then there will be a fall in demand for DVDs. Okay, so very importantly, we would expect to see that. Now, again, when we have a strong relationship between complementary products, cross elasticity of demand will be highly negative and greater than 1. Okay, a strong complementary relationship, cross elasticity of demand is highly negative and greater than 1. So minus 1.5, -3, etc. Again, visually, just having a little look at this. Wheat complements, tea and milk. Okay, if there's an increase in the price of tea, demand for milk isn't going to fall by much. Okay, people use milk for many reasons as well. Okay, it's not going to fall by much. Strong complements, on the other hand, you've got Android phones and apps, and if there's an increase in the price of Android phones, there will be a greater fall in demand for Android apps, and you can see the cross elasticity there is much greater when we have a strong complement compared to a weak complement. Okay, in terms of your opportunity now, you're now going to have a go at the activities on page 66. I am going to help you with an exemplar for number 1. So in this instance, a car dealer finds that the monthly sales of new cars, so demand falls from 50 to 45. What's caused that? A rise in the price of petrol from 80 to 90p. And you're asked to calculate the cross elasticity of demand for new cars with respect to the price of petrol and comment on the relationship between the two goods. Okay, so cars and petrol, some of you should already be thinking, what type of relationship is that? What am I expecting to find? Okay, so in terms of the exemplar, obviously what you need to do is put in your equation. You must show your workings out. A little reminder to work out a percentage change. It's new figure minus old figure divided by the old figure multiplied by 100. And the percentage change in the price of petrol, the price has risen to 90p, so it's 90 minus 80 divided by 80 times 100. Work that out, it gives you 12.5%. The percentage change in quantity demanded of cars, demand had fallen to 45, so 45 minus 50 divided by 50 times 100. Work it out, it gives you minus 10. Put all your figures in, and the 12.5% rise in the price of petrol led to a 10% fall in quantity demanded. Okay, and the figure is minus 0.8. Now, just in terms of how you work, how you explain this, the negative cross elasticity figure means that they're complementary goods and in joint demand. Look at that, get that good economics in there. Complementary goods and joint demand. Possibly you would expect a higher figure. You would expect there to be a strong complementary relationship in this instance. Okay, over to yourselves to have a go at questions 2, 3 and 4. To make life a little bit easier for yourself, I want you to have a go at question 3 and 4 first of all, and then on to number 2, which will be a little bit more challenging. Okay, so you've got about 6 minutes to have a go at those, 6 to 8 minutes maybe. Okay, so I'm going to press pause and you guys have a go at that, please. Okay, just pushing on. If we have time, we will have a quick go at this. If not, you can do this in your own time. So if there's a 20% fall in the price of all those goods in column 2, what would be the impact on demand for all the goods in column 3? Okay, have a quick go at that now. And that is the end of the topic.